Last night. Who was not here last night? Oh my god, that's great. What? Who was not here? Alright, so I'll do a quick little intro here. It's supposed to be 5 minutes and we're already running late. So, alright, so welcome to night 2 of the Shmoocon FireSides. Okay, don't get close to the microphone.
Go ahead and get closer and I'll work on it.
Okay. My name's Rex. I basically work for a large DoD contractor during the day, and at night I run a small website called novainfosec.com that's dedicated to news, information, and resources for security professionals in Northern Virginia, Maryland, and DC. So there's my little plug. First what fire talks are. They're basically, you have your 30-minute presentations, and you also have your 60-minute presentations, and we basically, fire talks are just an alternative format, so they're 15 minutes. The whole theory is that a lot of presentations go like Mr. Jason Street's. No. I'm going to use you as an example.
That was so funny the first time.
Okay. I used his as an example last week. But basically what I found at a lot of security cons is like somebody's going to release this cool tool, and you listen to like all this background stuff, and then the last 5 minutes is, oh, this is cool, this is where all the cool stuff is. So 15-minute format is to force the speakers to just compress a lot of the background down and just get to the good stuff or the meat of their content. Judges vote for the best talks. Like I said, Friday, this is Saturday night. This is a little picture of what it looked in 2009, which was the first year that it started. Michael Santarcangelo, which I still can't pronounce. Mubix and several others started it as part of the Podcasters Meetup effort, if anyone remembers that. It was basically held at the end of a hallway. Jack Daniel, I don't know if he's here this evening, he did this inaugural sock puppet presentation, if anyone remembers that. 2010, that was Snowmageddon, so we had a lot of issues, but in the end, everything worked out. 2011, 2012 worked great, had lots of fun. Now we're up to 2013, so I just want to give a big shout out to a lot of the people that helped out and helped us bring it together. So Jack Daniel, Sarah Clark, Jason Oliver, and Nakiet, who helped with go through all the talks that were submitted. Recording, as always, is Ivy over to the left. All right. Alice helped timing last night. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it this evening. And then also security, right? We have our security team in place, right? Yes. Okay, everyone's, I guess not. I never checked.
Go on the stage. It'll be anarchy.
Yeah, alright, so Sarah Clark, Dr. Lena, and Jason Oliver. Jason, are you here? Okay, I guess I'm doing security. So this is the schedule for this evening. Zac is just going to give an awesome talk on drones and how we can use that as an attack tool. We have Damien, who's going to talk about trying to hack into managed service providers, and then from that, basically everybody. We have Chris Campbell, who's going to talk about how we can do some awesome stuff with PowerShell. John Willis is going to go into and discuss gaps that are in the 20 critical security controls. Bill Gardner, aka Onse, where is he? He's way over there. All right, we're going to get back into we're going to be using the C word and the A word, but I don't want to say that yet. So, and then also Travis Goodspeed is going to finish up with an awesome talk on thumb drive and using that for active disk forensics. But that's basically it, and we're going to move on to the first speaker. Zac.
First off, I have been sick this whole conference, so if I start puking, I'll recover in just a few seconds, so just bear with us. The very first of this, we're going to go very quickly, then we'll slow back down a little bit, just as we have time. About me, I am an airline pilot. I do drones. I do all kinds of stuff. I do fit testing. And a lot of this came from just kind of mixing things that I do to get together. This all started off as a DARPA project for a competition. That's where I got started with drones several years ago. We ended up with a team that, unfortunately, the whole competition kind of fell apart a little bit, got messed up. So after it got expanded over a couple of months, it kind of fell apart. So we were unable to continue that particular competition. But I started looking at drones across the world. Of course, 76 countries working drones, all kinds of sizes, models, categories, if you wish. If you guys want to look at these slides later, you can. But this is really just kind of background information. Talking about the different altitudes, the different things that are out there, like the U.S. Air Force's actual shuttle that they've been using. That's actually got more time in flight in outer space than all the space shuttles combined. They've basically learned about in the last year or so. As far as legal things, I'm not your mother, or your father, or anybody else. Pretty much until the FAA gets off their butt and decides what they're going to do with a lot of drone technology inside the United States, you can't use it for any commercial operations, and you really just can't do much with drones right now as far as a legal means of doing things. You have to deal with the FAA, you have to deal with the FCC. Our drones we use right now currently use 4 to 5 different frequencies, as far as 900, 1.3, 2.4, 5.8, and some others. So depending on what you're trying to do, the range you're trying to get makes a huge difference. So first we'll talk about designing a drone. Everything we'll talk about is mostly off-the-shelf stuff. We can get you guys into a drone, depending on what you want it, for literally a few $100s. You can get started. The stuff I use is the stuff I'm familiar with, so that's the stuff I'm going to talk about. But there is lots of different units you can get. There's a lot of different frameworks you can operate with. I use the Arduino Pilot, the Arduino Copter set, just because that's the ones that I've become familiar with over time. That's the ones I'm used to actually running code stuff for. So the best thing about this is you can really just start, if you're going to get started with off-the-shelf RC airplanes. The stuff now is the foam, is the EPO foam, so it's basically just like the same foam airplanes you get at the toy store. The only difference is they throw a little bit of epoxy in there, and it makes them almost indestructible. We've had drones hit light poles at 120 miles an hour before. You can literally pick it up, kind of just work out some of the rough edges, throw it back up in the air, and it's good to go again. So it's a nice thing compared to if you buy flew RC airplanes, a few years back, where you built all that thing out of balsa wood, you covered it with all that crap, and you flew it to about 15 feet, and it smashed the ground, and it was gone. Now you don't have to worry about that as much. You can actually just keep flying stupid things over and over again. I will say the multi-rotors, I am newer in this field as far as doing this. I have several friends that are really good at it. I have another guy I work with that's really good at this. I am absolutely horrible at these things. I just basically cut off little kids' hands and feet trying to operate them. So, and that's what I was going to bring here. Unfortunately, it turns out carbon fiber 11-inch blade coming through TSA is not the best thing in the world. So, between that and lithium polymer batteries, I wasn't getting anything up here really. So unless I shipped it, I'm waiting too late. So, talking about some of the designs, especially when you're looking at the quadcopters, it takes a lot to be able to keep it flying. So to keep from hand flying, basically being able to control every engine separately, which you really couldn't do. They make all these stabilization controllers. These are the ones that you can actually get without autopilot systems. So if you wanted to, you could actually get some of these stabilization controllers, and you can interface them right into Raspberry Pis and fly them that way. You can fly them with Arduinos. You can do all kinds of stuff to actually interact between this and or to make your own, roll your own autopilot system if you want. The good thing, the bad thing, the way that the world works, you can get stuff extremely cheap in China, it turns out. You guys are not aware of that. So like this radio right here is one that most people, or not most people, a lot of people use, that is ER9X, has the Open9X firmware that you can also get. A good radio in the States for 9-channel radios is roughly $600, $800. You can get these from China for $45. And what you get is this radio right here, which is a decent unit, and then the firmware is really where it's lacking. But the good news is you can either make your own, or else they actually have some Pogo board adapters, I guess you would say, that you put on there that allows you to flash the firmware on these and flash them on the fly. So then you can actually do all kinds of stuff, including changing out the main board, which you see in the bottom right, and upgrading it to different architectures, so that you can actually get this up to 32 channels instead of the typical 8 or 9 channels. The autopilot, which is what I currently use in my drones, just because, like I said, it's what I'm used to, it's what I've learned. The older version on the left, the one on the right is the newer version. You can see how much they've shrunk it down. It is a full IMU, meaning it has accelerometers, it has barometric pressure. So it pretty much, just like an autopilot in a regular aircraft, it can determine the state of the airplane. It can do wind correction, it can do routes and courses and plotting, so that you can do advanced flights with it. And then to help with the range, they make tons of stuff out there for the uplink. You can use the telemetry now through, I usually mostly use the Zigbee interface. Sometimes I'll throw a Raspberry Pi or another smaller panel board on there and actually encode video and everything, then just send it down through like a 2.4. But they do actually make cheap antenna trackers now for trying to get the most distance you can. You can get about 900 megahertz if you're really good and pump it up. Almost 30 miles at this point, so you have quite a bit of range. Depending on what you're flying, I will say that the smaller quads, hexcopters, because the battery life is pretty short. I'm sitting around 15 to 20 minute flight time, where we do have some of the airplane more modes, the single engine pusher motor, that we can do. It depends on what you're doing, but you can get up to 3 hours on those. So if you really want to time on target, then you have to do something that's more of an airplane. Obviously, harder to get up off the ground and back on the ground if you have to have a little surface to land and take off. But as far as time on target, it's really what you're looking for. So here's Mission Planner. This is the ones that the guys developed to go with the autopilot. Really good program, as you can see. It pretty much follows the interface of flying most of the drones, where you actually have the the Google Maps in the bottom right. If you have video in your drone, you can actually overlay with the heads-up display, which is in the bottom left. And then you can actually look at stuff like altimeter heading, airspeed up to the top, and you can actually set in courses and change it in real time. So as long as you have a telemetry up and you can communicate with it, you can actually have the autopilot fully fly itself and just sit there and change the mission parameters. So like I used to do, if I was trying to go to a flight or a location that I was going to do testing in, I could actually map it so it took off from my house, circled overhead a couple of times, followed down the road to where I was going to, circled overhead about 3 times, and it would come in and land in a field about the time I pulled up in there. All fully autonomously, pre-programmed before I left the house. Pretty simple stuff. This is all open source, straight out of the box, nothing special. This is literally $300, $400 to get you out the door, doing something pretty simplistic like that. Which sounds, you know, simplistic as far as much times you have to put into it. Because this stuff is pretty much plug and play at this point. They've made a great system that does pretty much everything for you. Another one, Q Ground Control, is another group that has a pretty good product that is really nice because you can run some different platforms, including tablets. And this one, believe it or not, can run 256 drones at one time. So if you had a great little army that you wanted to unleash, this would be a great software for you because it can actually task them all the different things. And then you can do things like if I want to be time on target, let's say I want to have eyes on target 24/7, it can monitor and say, okay, when this battery gets to 20%, we're going to launch the next drone. The drone's going there, establishes establishes on target, another one returns and goes back for recharging or refueling. And so it can sit there and continuously do that for you to make sure that you have eyes on target at all times. So that kind of brings us down to the stuff we really want to talk about, extending capabilities of the drones. This kind of started whenever I started messing around with a target that was kind of behind a secure area. That's as far as secure, having a really good perimeter defense, pretty good guard station. And we're like, well, how could we, if we want to do a physical attack of a facility that has multiple buildings, really get it so that we can learn it. And you do have things like Google Maps, which is great because you got satellite imagery, depending on how long that picture was taken. But if we want to see something that is really current, like is that shrub there still for us to hide behind? If we want to put equipment there, is that ladder there? Is that ladder down in a fire escape? Then we need to figure out how to do that in real time. So that's where we start talking about extending the capabilities of the drone to be able to do some of these advanced things. Target acquisition and tracking, just a big shout out to the open source community. We think of open source, we think about tons of tools that people make now that we use for pen testing and all that great stuff. And still, in other aspects, people develop stuff like, and this is a video that I wish we had time to see, but it's a system of learning a target from every angle. So it's a tracking system that as this aircraft flies around or as the angle changes, so if you have a drone over a target and you need to learn a target, let's say you're watching a particular area and you see a guy in a backpack and a hat and you need to follow that guy around. The software is really good, this is full open source, and what it does is as the aircraft comes around that target, it learns it from all sides. So it knows what that guy looks like from 360 degrees. And it'll actually follow, and let's say the guy has ability, it can reacquire as it comes out. Well, let's say he takes his hat off to try to change his appearance. It can actually, you can set the number of factors involved, so if it says, well, I think that's a thing, 80% of me knows that that's the same target I was following. The only thing missing is the 20% from the top where the hat is. You can say, well, you got an envelope where you can reacquire that target. So as the guy comes back out, let's say, hey, here's 80%, this is him, and you can reacquire to go. And the cool thing, the guys on the left that you can't see, or you can see, the two objects on the left is pretty much how to build your own GPS tracker. A 9-volt battery can run for several days, which is really nice. And what that is the bottom is a Zigbee radio, and the top part is a GPS unit. Now you can get GPS units that are about the size of a quarter. There's 64 channels, so you pretty much have from cold boot to GPS lock within pretty much 2 seconds. So you could actually attach this to a vehicle, a person, whatever you want to find and track, and hide it really pretty easily. And the drone can actually continuously receive the latitude longitude from that target and will keep its eyes on it at all times. The drone software automatically has yaw and roll control for cameras. So if you say that I need a latitude longitude and I need eyes on it, then it will actually modify its flight plan and control the camera servo so that you have eyes on target at all times. So it's really nice if you really want to stalk the airline shit out somebody, you can. Not a problem. So this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, physical pen testing, and how we're going to get a very good description of the area or a 3D description of the area. So it turns out that who in here has used Microsoft PhotoSynth? Anybody? Yeah, so actually a few people use it. They actually have an app for the phone. And what it is basically is a service that Microsoft runs where you take a whole bunch of pictures and it kind of figures out a way to interweave the pictures together to make a 3D picture of an object. Which is nice for places like Statue of Liberty, and everybody goes and takes pictures of it, and everybody dumps their pictures into the PhotoSynth. And it renders a pretty decent 3D picture. Well, it turns out you can actually take that 3D picture and you can export it out into AutoCAD. And you can throw stuff out in 3D printers and stuff if you want. It's really awesome. So you want to do a physical assessment of a place and want to know what's there. You actually send a drone over it. The drone, you can either do it with mapping. It has a mapping system in it now, where it'll actually automatically do your whole racetrack back and forth every so many feet, depending on what kind of camera system you have. Or else you can just tell it to do circles overhead and take that video feed, break it down into frames, and send it over to PhotoSynth. And you get stuff like this right here, where you get all the pictures at the top left, you jump it into PhotoSynth, you get 3D tracing in the bottom left, and you actually export that out to AutoCAD. And now you have your full 3D representation of your facility that you want to check out before you go in. So you can actually see, well, was that shrub still there? What's the distance between the shrub and the building? 3 minutes? All right, we're going fast. So you can actually see what's the different distance between the shrub and the building, and you have clearance to hide stuff in there, which is extremely handy. Raspberry Pi, like I talked about, it's great for throwing on there because it's lightweight. You can do video encoding on that and send it back down. You can interact with it as far as you could run the entire system through it as far as flight controls and video feed and everything. And then use that uplink of, say, Wi-Fi to be able to control everything through one frequency without having to hop through several of them. Mike and Rich, you guys know those at all? They started out with that good guy, I can't remember his name anymore, but they started out with doing wireless access points, like war flying, what they called it, monitoring different access points. We've done a few of the same things where you've actually taken directional antennas and built them into the foam of the wings so they don't absorb too much. So you can actually do pretty good mapping, overlay with 3D mapping. There's one for neighborhood just north of my house that pretty much every access point's mapped. I have the whole neighborhood in 3D, and then you can actually throw in GSM on top of that. So I don't know if you guys know the USRP on the top left, you can build into it pretty easily, or else you can get a FIM to cell if you guys know how to hack those and do GSM, cell phone intercepting, man-in-the-middle techniques, and then you can actually do tracking, which is great because it gives you lots of experience to do on your target tracking and acquisition. You can do it based off cell phones. It's a pretty fun little trick to do. First person view would be the last thing. If you guys get a chance, Google those guys. Legality-wise, what they do for the industry is probably not the best, but talking about beautiful videos. These guys do first-person videos where they fly through basically city streets and beautiful landscapes around the world and put it all on YouTube for everybody to watch, which is very interesting to say the least. They do a great job. So, since we're out of time, went through it real quick. If you guys have time, or if you guys want to, you can catch me on IRC on Freedom, or on Twitter. Catch me after this. I'll be around probably tomorrow in the labs, mostly until I head out tomorrow about 4 or so. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Are you the only one filming?
Actually, I thought Ted was, but I have no idea.
Okay, I'm just wondering, I missed the last part. How soon before you're going to have a fight?
If I get the time, hopefully, maybe I do tomorrow, maybe next.
Well, that's it. That'd be great.
Last night, I told you.
This is brilliant. I saw last night. Thanks.
That one kind of responsibility.